Pull up your last invoice from your IT provider. Managed firewall, endpoint protection, email security, good tools, solid provider. Now, here's the question that invoice can't answer, and it really wasn't designed to. Has anyone ever looked at how your business actually runs, identified the 2 or 3 things that would take it down, and then checked whether those specific tools are aimed at exactly that? That review doesn't come from the people running your tools. It's not because they can't, it's because they weren't hired to start there. That's what we're talking about today. Most owners read that invoice as proof. We pay every month for managed security, so we must be covered. But that's the wrong read. In small business security, an invoice is a measure of spend and activity. It's not a measure of risk coverage. Your provider can answer, are the tools we sold you running? What almost nobody can answer is, are those tools aimed at the things that would actually hurt this specific business? Those are 2 completely different questions, and only one of them is on the bill. Now, let's be fair about what your IT provider is actually on the hook for. Uptime, patching, closing tickets, keeping the tools they installed running and current, responding fast when something breaks. That is tactical execution, and a good provider does it well. The best ones are operationally excellent. They are running a machine that genuinely protects you from a wide range of standard threats. This is not a video about a bad provider. A capable IT provider is a real asset to your business. The point is the starting point. They take your business environment as it is, and they build your security posture from there. What they are accountable for is running the machine. What nobody asked them to do, and what isn't in their scope, is to take a step back first and ask whether it's the right machine for your specific business. So, quick question. Has anyone ever sat down with you and walked through your business, your billing workflow, your client files, the process that only 2 people on your team actually know how to do, and then map those directly to your security coverage? Not a questionnaire, not a compliance checklist, but an actual conversation about what your business cannot afford to lose, and whether a single line item on that invoice points directly to those. Here's what that review would look at. Whether the controls match the specific parts of your business that generate your revenue. Whether the workflow that moves your money has a verification step built into it. Whether your compliance exposure is actually covered or just kind of assumed. And whether your spend is aimed at your real risks or at a generic checklist designed for businesses in general. The invoice is silent on every one of those, and those are the questions that decide whether you are actually protected. So how does security spend drift away from actual risk in the first place? It happens because most security buying runs off a menu. You buy what your provider already offers. You buy what a vendor questionnaire told you to have. You buy whatever the last headline scared you into adding something. None of those 3 starts from your business. They start from someone else's list. So the spend piles up against generic threats. The invoice gets longer every year, and the 2 or 3 things that would actually take down your business, the real crown jewels, the billing system, the client access, the workflow only your team knows, kind of sit there untouched because they were never on anybody's menu. Your provider isn't the reason the spend drifted. The absence of anyone whose job it is to align the spend to your specific risk. Now that's the reason. That is the missing piece. The invoice needs a counterpart. Someone whose only job is to look at what your provider is executing and ask whether it matches what your business actually needs protected. Not someone who benefits from adding more tools, not someone whose revenue goes up when the invoice gets longer. Someone independent with no tools to sell and no commissions writing on the answer. Your provider is not the problem. They're operationally excellent, I have no doubt. The absence of a strategic counterpart to your provider, now that's the problem. You have someone running the controls. You do not have anyone whose only job it is to decide whether they are the right controls for this specific business. That is the role, and it is way different. If you want to start this conversation with your current provider today, here are 3 questions worth asking. 1, can you show me which specific parts of our business your current tools are designed to protect and which ones aren't covered? 2, is our security setup built around how our business actually operates, or is it based on a standard configuration for businesses our size? And 3, if I asked you to name our 3 biggest vulnerabilities right now without adding any new tools, what would they be? A strong provider will welcome those questions. The answers will also tell you exactly where the gaps are and whether you need an independent set of eyes to confirm what you find. So that invoice that feels like proof you're covered, it is really just proof that you are spending, and spending is not the same thing as being protected. Whether you are actually protected is a separate question. You will not find the answer on the bill. You will find it asking what this business cannot afford to lose, and then checking whether a single line item on that invoice is pointed directly to it. If you have a capable IT provider, but you have never had anyone whose only job it is to ask whether what they are doing matches your actual risk, this is the gap worth closing. This is exactly what the independent assessment is built around. The link is in the description. No tools to buy, no commissions involved, just an honest look at whether your security spend is pointed at the right things. I'm John Barker. Be the Titan over your tech.